Joan Donovan is the research director of Harvard Kennedy's Shorenstein Center on Media, Politics and Public Policy, and she studies online disinformation and joins us now from Boston. Thank you so much for being with us. So this is the first time that the tech bosses have been grilled since the Capitol riots. And Mark Zuckerberg, interestingly, was suggesting that it is time to look at this Section 230, which effectively means companies are not liable for what they post. But is it weedy, what he's suggesting, or is it at all significant?
Well, as you can imagine, in the United States, there's an internet before January 6th, and then there's a world after what we witnessed. And in the lead up to what happened January 6th, we saw mountains of disinformation just on every platform. And it didn't seem as if these companies were interested in taking down what we might call super spreaders of lies around our election. And so when it comes to Section 230,
memes are becoming more and more and more important every day in the way we talk about politics online, as well as how we come to understand particular political issues. Hi, I'm Joan Donovan, and I'm the director of the Technology and Social Change Research Project at Harvard Kennedy's Shorenstein Center. They take a look at the ways in which mimetic communities online are producing lots and lots of media that sometimes gets picked up by different people in our political sphere. So sometimes those are media, sometimes those are actual politicians, sometimes they're pundits.
Because I did write very early on in the pandemic, I was like, well, it's an unfortunate situation that we're in where we do have these micro ad targeting that allows for this very discrete collection of people's information. But the problem is, essentially that when you validate these systems or, repurpose them for public health, and it also makes it seem like we agree.
On that note, I will hand it over to our first speaker today, Dr. Donovan. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's really an amazing feat to see this class having come together. And I have been working in medical sociology for over a decade. But most people know me for the kind of research that I've been doing related to online communities, especially communities of extremists and fringe groups who really try to hide basically who they are or what their intentions are in order to spread their political platform or propaganda. And so in looking at my cross interests now, which is medical sociology and media manipulation, I'm really drawn into how do we understand this moment, given that there's all these different ways that people are going to try to trick you into believing certain things about the COVID, about the pandemic, about sort of geopolitical relations, as well as domestic issues. And this is all happening in real time as we're trying to navigate an election and as well as the census. The census also happened this year. And so there's a lot of misinformation out there that seems to cross over. So one of the things that my team has tried to do is create a framework or a rubric for understanding this. What I will point you to is to go to mediamanipulation.org, which is our new website. And on that website, we have a bunch of case studies, 3 of which deal specifically with medical misinformation related to COVID-19. And on this website, what we've really tried to do is bring together a theory methods package for how you would understand media manipulation in this moment, where we really try to track 5 essential points of action, which is where does the campaign begin? How does it move across the web and platforms and media and the news? Then we look at who responds, because most media manipulation campaigns don't really take hold of the public imagination unless someone important responds to it. In particular, someone like a politician or a journalist, or even now public health professionals. And so, yeah, if you click on methods, it'll show you this cool chart. If you scroll down a little bit, this is our life cycle. And so then we look at the mitigation by different platform companies. Like, what are they actually doing? right? Are they taking down content? Are they removing users? Are they labeling things? We've seen an immense amount of labeling happening. And then we're looking at how do media manipulators actually adjust to the situation. So in the context of COVID, when we're mapping this life cycle, what we're trying to understand is essentially what kinds of narratives about vaccines are taking hold in public discussion. Who is driving them? Are they hiding who they are, or are they hiding what their intents are? How are they trading up the chain or moving into more public conversation by getting picked up by the news or getting picked up by a journalist who's just trying to get, a story out there? And so one of the research reports that we did, and I'll link it in the chat, is one about COVID misinformation, specifically targeting Black communities. And we released this earlier this summer. It's underneath the research tab at the top. And then if you scroll down a bit, that's called the Canaries in the Coal Mine Report. And essentially, this report is written by Brandy Collins Dexter, who's been a fellow of ours for a year and a half now. And the idea is pretty simple, which is we tried to isolate 4 major myths about COVID-19 online. So what we found is that there were 4 major misconceptions that were circulating at a very high volume, which is important to understand because what we're dealing with is misinformation at scale. Of course, communities for a very long time have had issues related to rumors and, reputational politics about certain health agencies. What we're trying to look at is really what is new about what's happening online. So rampant rumors about Black people not being able to die from COVID-19 or that they were somehow immune, that the virus was man-made for the purposes of population control. These were being circulated by very well-known Black influencers. The idea that the virus could be contained through the use of herbal remedies, this was another line of misinformation that was very potent in online Black communities. And then another one that is starting to creep back into public view, this idea that 5G radiation or 5G towers are the root cause of COVID-19. And what's important about understanding these individual case studies from our point of view as researchers is essentially that when you have this combination of unchecked influencers, unmoderated conspiracy, and unregulated information markets, that is like herbal remedies being something that you can advertise as a cure for COVID-19. And we did see as these sets of conspiracies and misinformation came into view that platform companies are willing to take action in some places, but not in others. And the actions were actually very uneven. They were very different across different platforms. Facebook would label things, Twitter would take them down, YouTube might label something, or
There's no such discipline more aware of this than sociology, where I come from, because counting things is hard, right? And that's something to be thinking about. And as
humans are really bad at repeated tasks over and over and over with consistency.
Well, we get bored. We start thinking about other things, you know, like vacations, other places to be, what we're going to have for dinner, what we're going to have for dinner, what we're going to have for dinner.
What we're gonna have for dinner.